This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session, regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers. A list of dates annually indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, June 25th, 2013. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for the invocation, which will be given by Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
O God, the Creator and Redeemer of all the faithful, hear our supplications, and through thy infinite love and mercy, graciously grant us the strength and power in our thoughts and decisions to be for the benefit of all people at all times. Amen.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll of the council.
Councilman Chase.
Here.
Councilwoman Francois.
Here.
Councilman Kramer.
Here.
Mayor Levine.
Here.
Councilman Prasad. Councilman Regan.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sherman. Councilman Vasanella. Councilman Wright.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a quorum. We'll conduct our business. The meeting is following along on our agenda. You can feel free to get the agendas over here by our clerk, Ms. McCarthy, along with associated ordinances and resolutions. And in a moment, I'll tell you some more details about how our meetings run, and we slightly changed our schedule this year. But for now, we are at item number 5 on the agenda, commendations and proclamations. And we have Launching Visions 2, The Journey Continues, Ashley Marie Beatty, pronounce that right, Hope, and Mary Claire Soban. So if Councilwoman Kimberly Francois can join me up at the podium, go over there.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'm going to ask them to give their presentation first, and then we'll go and give them their proclamation. So this way people know why we're acknowledging them.
Okay, thank you.
So we have Ashley Marie Beatty and Mary Claire Soban giving the presentation. Can you see that? Or does the lights need to be dimmer? Yeah. And make sure our cameraman is pointing the camera to the presentation.
Yeah, we're generally in the dark, but you could go darker.
That's better, yeah. Okay, you can get started.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to share our information about our fundraising event, about the team, and about myself. So my name is Ashley Marie Beatty, and just to give you a little of what we're going to be presenting to you, I'll share a little about myself and about Launching Visions 1 and 2, and Mary will share information about herself, the team, and our event for this year. So a little bit about me. I am a proud Franklin High School graduate of 2011, and right now I am attending Johnson & Wales University. I am a junior, an honor student majoring in fashion merchandising and retail marketing. And last year, I launched my 2 businesses, A&B Productions, which is my event planning platform, and Lori Lee Hayes by Ashley Marie, which is my fashion brand. So Launching Visions has come out of 3 different things. I've always been taught to dream big, build partnerships, and give back. So dreaming big, I've always wanted to start my own businesses and to be able to promote my talents. And I wanted to find a creative way to do that, and I knew I couldn't do it on my own. So that's where building partnerships comes in, where I wanted to showcase talents and leverage skills and enjoy the journey while sharing it with other people that I've graduated with and people that I'm in school with now. And giving back, of course, it's always been great to give back to the community. I've done a number of different things, and this is just another way for us to give back to the community. So launching Visions, Dreams to Reality was our first show. It was last year, August 11th, 2012. And it was a benefit to the American Heart Association and Alzheimer's Association. The event sold out. We had over 20 A&B production team members, which are colleagues and students that were majority from Franklin High School. We had over 150 guests that came to our show. Over 40 ads were sold in our program book, and we raised over $2,400 to split between the American Heart and Alzheimer's Association. So our second show, Launching Visions 2, The Journey Continues, we've thought of another platform of bigger, better, grander. So we have a bigger room. We moved from a smaller suite in the Heldridge Hotel to the Grand Ballroom. Our stage is a little more intricate and detailed for the models to walk on. And our team has doubled in size. So we had about 20. We have about between 40 to 50 members now. We've done different planning better. We started a lot earlier. We actually came to speak to you after the event last year, so now we're here before. We have a lot more opportunities and connections for our team to get connected with other networking opportunities that are people who are coming to the event and so on. And the grander, obviously, our fundraising goals, we want to double as well. So everything is pretty much trying to double in size this year. So next, Mary will talk to you a little about her background. The team, she's actually doing an internship for A&B Productions this year and the community service support.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mary Claire Sovin. As Ashley said, I'm interning for A&B Productions. I was a graduate of 2011 from Franklin High School. Me and Ashley go way back. Good friends in middle school, high school, and I'm thankful throughout our collegiate years. I had joined the team in 2012, shortly after my freshman year, and I was brought on to be a performer / singer for the event, which I enjoyed. And this year, I took the initiative to be more into the production this year, and was thankful to be part and make this into my internship. Right now, I attend Belmont University, which is in Nashville, Tennessee. My major is public relations with a minor in music business. And so my part of it, internship-wise, is I'm handling mostly the media relations and the public relations of the production. So the team for A&B Production is pretty much made up of a lot of the talents that came from the high school and on through Ashley's friends who she's met in college. So A&B Production gives the opportunity for students to showcase their talents, whether it's through singing, DJing, spoken word. We have Aaliyah Pierce, who's actually in the audience right now, and she's performing an oratory piece. It also gives the opportunity for students to collaborate and leverage their skills. And it also, which is the most important thing I think, is it's giving back to the community through its donations to the American Heart Association and the Alzheimer's Association. So I think that's, for me, the most important thing to get out of this whole thing, that it is going to a good cause, and there's a lot of good things happening from this production. For me, in production has helped me to build my resume. I'm a junior, and I'm also an athlete, so for me, it's really hard to intern during the year, and this was a great opportunity for me to put on my resume, and also for the other students who are involved in this production. Of course, it's for community service as well, so every student, every team member who's part of this is getting a community service I want to say accolade for the participation in it. So that's a really good aspect of it and why students join, and also just to give back. As I said, I'm getting internship credit and marketing promotion experience from this, from doing AMP Productions. And just a little bit going from the team and who's pretty much built up of it. We have Khalid Briggs, who is actually one of the very first faces of FHS's Want TV cast. He was a host for it, and now he's going to be, I believe, the MC of the night. And then we also have Devin Hall, who was part of a lot of Villagers Theater's production. He is now at AMDA, the American Music Dramatics Academy in New York, studying musical theater. And as I said, Aaliyah Pierce, who has also just published her first book. So there's a lot of great names and great faces and people who are on their way to great success who are starting within this program, just as I am, just as Ashley is. So there's a lot of great students who are building their careers and building their successes just from this production company. So I think it's a great thing for Franklin as well, because you see students going above and beyond what was expected of them. And also it's just a great face to see that, you know, students from Franklin are giving back also along with making successes of themselves. So back to Ashley.
So in conclusion, yes, our event is happening August 3rd. It's at the Heldridge Hotel. Doors open at 2:30. It's Launching Visions 2, The Journey Continues. And again, all proceeds are going to the American Heart and Alzheimer's Association. And no tickets will be sold at the door. All tickets can be purchased online at www.ambproductions.org, as well as any program ads. So we'd like to say thank you for this opportunity, and we hope to see you at the show.
Everybody can see you. So, council, if you have your cards here with the information about the event, and I know Councilman Kramer, you went last year to the event, so I'm sure you'll speak about how much you enjoyed it. I plan to go participate myself this year. I think it's grandioso that we have our young people from our high school that are giving back, have left town, went to college, and come back here and are giving of their time and their talent to our community. One thing I didn't hear you say was about the program over at the high school being discontinued and you using some of those students. I didn't hear you say that part. So maybe after I give you the proclamation, you can I think that's very key. I think people need to hear that. So I will read the commendation, and it reads, recognizing Ashley Marie Beatty for her continual visionary leadership, and Mary Claire Sobon, entrepreneurial and community service, and launching Visions 2, The Journey Continues, August 3rd, 2013. Whereas Franklin Township is so proud to acknowledge and promote the success and good deeds of our Franklin High School alumni and the newest generation of community leaders. Whereas the action of Ashley Marie Beatty and Mary Claire Sobon, because you both have the same proclamation, it just, one has your name on, the other one has her name on. So I'm not going to read them both because they're basically the same thing. Ongoing vision and leadership in creating Launching Visions 2, The Journey Continues, has ignited the partnership, collaboration, and contributions of over 40 like-minded colleagues, many who are Franklin High School alumni and Franklin High School students currently throughout the community. And whereas her entrepreneurial spirit, skills, and creativity created, markets, and presented a multi-purpose platform to promote her event planning platform, Ambi Productions, and fashion brand Lori Leigh Hayes by Ashley Marie, to provide an opportunity for her colleagues to showcase their talents, earn internship credit and community service hours in their emerging professions of fashion design, photography, videography, media and public relations, communications and broadcasting, poetry, musical and theatrical performances, and internship opportunity. That's a whole lot for somebody so young to have that much vision. That's incredible. Whereas her commitment to giving back to her community is dedicating all proceeds from August 3rd, 2013 event called Launching Visions 2 to the American Heart Association and Alzheimer's Association. And you're doing all this to give to donate to a greater cause bigger than yours. I think it's just phenomenal. So now, therefore, we, myself, Kimberly Francois, Councilwoman, and our Mayor, Brian D. Levine, on behalf of the Township Council, hereby officially recognizes the ongoing visionary leadership, entrepreneurial achievements, and community service contributions of Ashley Marie Beatty and Mary Claire Sabone, and thank them for using their talents to promote the contributions of our next generation of leaders in our Township of Franklin and community. Thank you so very much. I'm so very proud of you.
And just to add the addition about the connection that we're making back to the high school as well, I found out through the fashion design teacher at the high school that they weren't able to have a fashion show this past year. So I wanted to make sure that I gave them a chance to showcase their talents as what they've been able to do in the classroom, because through my years at Franklin High School, I was able to showcase my stuff. So it's important to me to give back and reach back to my high school, and like Mary Claire said, I've also reached to my university as well, and I have some students modeling in that as well.
I just want to say, for me, this is a great opportunity. Not only have me and Ashley been great friends for a long time, but just giving back to my community and seeing the positive things and the positive people that are coming out just for this event has really lightened the spirits of Franklin. And even though I'm all the way in Nashville, Tennessee, it's nice to come back and know that I'm contributing back to my community, because I wouldn't be where I am today without them. So it's just a good feeling, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Yeah, again, very impressive. I think I met you last year before your show. We're at the police youth program for our manager. Yeah, there it is. You know better than I do. And I was impressed then, and then saw this come to fruition. So that's very good. Again, all these things putting together. Going to read about you very soon and your success. So thanks a lot from all of us in town. Appreciate it. So going on, and okay, so people want tickets, they go online to,
They
go
go
ahead.
online to A&B Productions, www.ambproductions.org. And it varies from tickets from VIP, which is priority seating, front rows, and a gift, which is 40, adults are 30, and students are 15 with ID.
Very nice. One more thing.
Okay, thank you. Again, our agendas are over here by our clerk, Ms. McCarthy, along with associated resolutions and ordinances. You can get the agenda online, usually the weekend before the meeting. Just go on our website, franklintwpnj.org, and you can pull up the agenda. You know about the items we will discuss, and if you click on the item, you'll see the full ordinance or resolution, so you can follow along, give us your input before or during the meeting. So we are now at item number 6, which is the mayor's report. And our meetings are generally, first let you know, second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. Exceptions are July, August, and December, where there's only the second Tuesday of the month. And now we have an extra exception. It's usually the second Tuesday in August. This second Tuesday of August, the 13th, will be the special primary for the United States Senate, so we can't meet on that day, so it'll be that Thursday, the 15th, instead. So my mug for today is for graduation, for you and all your colleagues, and certainly Franklin High School, which is going to graduate this week, all the young men and women who put in their time and do their best, and hopefully the economy improves so they have a lot to do when they get out, and that's a real accomplishment for them. I hear they've raised the standards since I graduated, so I'm lucky, I guess, about that. And we do need a little bit better funding from the state on our education, and I'll get you that in a minute. Last time I foreshadowed you about a merger. I was at a meeting with Somerset Medical Center. They were considering various partners, one of them being Robert Wood Johnson, who I was suggesting and pushing for a little bit. And I certainly was not part of the process. I just gave them my opinion on a few occasions, and they did decide to go with Robert Wood Johnson, which I like personally and selfishly, because now between Somerset Medical Center and Robert Wood Johnson, Franklin is very nicely within that corridor. So I'm going to be working with them to try and get medical facilities, jobs, and such as that coming right through our town, because we're now the nice roadway right in between. And hopefully they'll lend us a hand in building our infrastructure also. When I said about the funding, there was, I spoke about an organization called Building One New Jersey on June 15th. They had a meeting, a regional meeting, and the name is Building One New Jersey because the concept instead of all our 565 towns and 600 education districts, we're one state. Instead of all these little pieces, kind of look at us all together. They named me to the board of directors a couple weeks ago. So at the regional meeting on June 15th, the emphasis was working together and fairness in funding, and that was actually a good one. Some of the speakers were Assemblyman Joe Cryan, Senator Joe Vitale, used to be our Congressman Frank Pallone, telling us his opinions. And they had a gentleman from Washington, David Rusk, who came up and told us about interesting statistics. He happens to have been the son of Dean Rusk from the JFK years. Is a mayor in Albuquerque, so he knows about the outside plus on the inside. That was all pretty good. I was a panelist there, and I emphasized what I just said. In addition, and this I want to push with the state, we're considered a wealthy community because we're in Somerset County, one of the wealthiest in the United States. But our schools still have about 40% free and reduced lunch. So statistically, we're high. Practically, we have issues and people in need, so we tend to get the short end of the stick on funding and resources. So that's one of the things I want to help equal out over there. Another note, we had more of a larger area, the state and regional Asian American Fair was at our convention center. I greeted them on behalf of all of you, the town, and that was very good. Also, that was very good. That was packed. Again, the Building One New Jersey thing was packed also. And as a foreshadow, a Red Tape Review Commission, a bipartisan commission in the state where we look to save a few bucks because things are redundant or full of red tape. We should be meeting again in July. That looks like it might be pushed back. I'll keep you posted, and I'll try and keep you better versed on the money being saved for the state. And I guess that concludes it, except see our website. It gives you a lot of information. You can also follow my Facebook. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's information. I guess you luck of the draw sees which one you haven't. And that concludes the mayor's report. So then we have item 7, deputy mayor's report from Deputy Mayor Rosalind Sherman. I guess can't be here. Anyone have a substitute? Okay. So if not, Councilman Kramer?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to bring item 13B forward at this time. It's the Hampton Chase issue. Number of people are here to see that, and we could expedite their evening by moving it forward.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
Okay. Moved and seconded. And this is a vote, not on the actual item itself, but to amend the agenda so we vote on it now. Councilman Kramer was being cognizant of your time and saying, let's move it now instead of you having to wait through other things in the agenda. And then seconded. So all in favor of amending the agenda to do item 13B, ordinance 402513 now, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Okay, so this is an ordinance hearing. How we work it is, ordinances are usually voted on, well, they are voted on a first time, and then generally the next meeting or two, there's a second vote. And at that second vote, there's a public hearing, meaning anyone can give us their opinion on that particular ordinance. And if it passes that second vote, then it goes into law. So when we go to this one, it's the second vote. I'm going to ask anyone who wants to speak. It'll only be on this particular ordinance. We're glad to hear you. When that is done, then we're going to go to public discussion, and you can tell us anything on your mind, but I'll certainly be clear on that. So now we're at item 13B, ordinance 4025-13, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of certain real property identified on the township's tax map as part of lots 36.86, 36.78, and 36.85 in block 84.03 in connection with agreement for maintenance and purchase with Hampton Chase Homeowners Association. Basically, the Hampton Chase Homeowners Association is paying the town a sum, and that's going to relieve them of having to maintain their detention basin, and the town will take it over forevermore. The township attorney has approved the affidavit of publication, and a public hearing is in order. Is there a motion to open the meeting for a public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on this particular ordinance. If you want to speak on Hampton Chase, this is the time. Everything else will be in a moment. So anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand. When I recognize you, come to the podium, give us your name and address. We are being filmed by local cable access and audio taped.
See no, oh,
Oh,
sure.
no, you want to? Yes, sir, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
My name is Alex Karazi from 14 Margaret Drive, Somerset, New Jersey. Mr. Mayor, first of all, thank you very much for putting this ordinance on the agenda for today. And I'm the president of the association, and on behalf of the 82 homeowners of our association, I would like to thank you as well as all the council men and women who a couple of weeks ago voted unanimously to put this ordinance for the vote for the second time. And I'm hoping that everybody again today will vote unanimously. But I also, since I may not have another opportunity in the near future to publicly acknowledge some of the members that helped us, I would like to take just a couple of minutes to recognize a couple of people, if I may. I would like to recognize our town manager, Bob Warnlocker, who really helped us, and also really our councilman, Dr. Kramer, who worked with us and really educated us. We learned through this process, we learned a lot of things. And Dr. Kramer, we don't forget the fact that even though your wife was sick in the hospital, you spent almost 2 weeks to go through a lot of paper, and even in the evenings, were calling me and giving us an update what's going on. We thank you so much for all the efforts that you put to help us to bring this to this council's vote. Thank you very much, and again, everyone, I thank you on behalf of the homeowners, and especially on behalf of myself, which I have spent a lot of time to serve in the community, and I'm hoping that soon we will have the opportunity to transfer this to the township and dissolve our association. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this particular item?
See no one come forward, Mayor, a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Public discussion is closed on this ordinance. Thank you. So now, is there a motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please pull the council on item 13B, ordinance 4025-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Regan? Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, a majority. And so, motion carries.
Here we go.
It is done. Thank you very much for the time and effort. Okay. Good. So now, we'll go back to our agenda. And we are now at item number 9, public discussion. So is 8, public discussion. Oh, thank you very much. Excuse me. 8, public discussion. Need new glasses. Is there a motion to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on any item of interest. Anyone, okay, before we do that, let me give you our format here. As is our policy, everyone who comes up
Johnny knows
has
it.
5 minutes to speak to us. We're glad to hear from anyone on the topic of your choice. We have a timer so that after 3 minutes has elapsed, you'll hear a tone, and when your 5 minutes is concluded, you'll hear multiple tones. I'm going to ask you to wrap up your thoughts. We do it in, limit it to 5 minutes so that we can hear from people and move on with other business portions of our meeting. As is our policy, there's no yielding of time, and people can come up once per meeting for the public discussions portion. We're being audio taped and videotaped, which will be broadcast on our cable access channel. So, just so you're aware of that. And please direct all comments to the council, and if any of us should answer, also direct. So the meeting is open for public discussion on any item of interest to the public. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand. When I recognize you, give us your name and address, and spell it for if there's any problem for that. Mr. Tibbs.
Johnny's Tibbs, 25 Parkside, Somerset, New Jersey. First of all, let me commend, Roz isn't, Councilman Chairman isn't here right now, but I wanted to commend her on her whole organization of creating the Cultural Arts Council and the work that she's doing. I went to several of her events, and they were outstanding, and I think it's a great service that she's doing for Franklin Township, and I wanted to commend her for that. Also, I wanted to commend Phil Kramer for his past. I didn't tell you the last time I was here, but I was proud to know that they passed a budget in which you designed and forwarded to the council, and I'm hoping that you'll be here for a long time, Phil. So next year, perhaps we find a way to use your budget and lower the taxes in Franklin with your particular budget. I think you can work on that hard. I think you'll be able to accomplish that goal.
So stop the clock for a second. Just, I have to step in. I did not design the budget and pass it on. We all worked together.
Yes.
I had a lot to do with reviewing it, but I did not design the budget.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Vornlocker gets that credit.
Oh, I see. Well, thank you, Mr. Hornlacher. Also wanted
You yelled at me at the one council meeting.
No, I'm sorry. No, and of course, I want to do this because I have a particular reason I'm saying this in terms of Rajiv Kimberly and for the undaunting support in terms of youth development and so forth in the council. And, you know, I want you guys to understand that you guys are doing a good job, a marvelous job, and keeping this town up to par. And me being a citizen of this town, I'm proud of it, and I'm proud to be a part of you guys. And I wanted to also, Ted Chase, which is the professor here, you know, this town would not know anyone the more knowledgeable of this town than Professor Chase. And I think this town would be proud to know that this man is still here, and hope he'll be here for a long time, because you can learn from Mr. Chase, as I have. And hopefully in the near future, of all the elections coming up, that we keep you guys around for a long, long time. And I said that to say that you don't have to get into bed with nobody. You don't have to sleep with your enemies. It's not necessary. Okay, now I'll get to the point I'm getting at first of all, once I laid that down. Now, several months ago, they have a men's senior softball league. We all old guys, all seniors. And I was fortunate enough to find a community business that was able to sponsor us. I've understood that they didn't think that Johnny Tibbs would be able to get a softball team, somebody to sponsor his team, but I did. They were shocked when I did it. So once I entered the league, please give me a couple more minutes, they had to scramble around to reset their schedules because they had the schedules already set for the 4 teams. So I was in. And they had a meeting after they seen I was in. We all kind of assumed they was trying to get rid of us. Perhaps we were wrong, perhaps we were wrong. But they had a meeting and they decided to, all the previous years they had all teams in the playoff. That's what Franklin Township was known for. That's what the sponsor sponsored us for. All teams are going to be in the playoffs, so if we said by the end of the year we might be halfway decent to be competitive. Okay. Now, mid-season, they changed that rule. They changed that rule from all teams being in the playoff to only 4 teams being in the playoff. And the 5th team is going to have to be eliminated. Of course, that's going to be us, because we're the news guys in town. We're trying to get it together. So, at the last meeting we had on June the 10th, they had a new schedule out. They already had the playoff schedule already for the 4 teams in the beginning of the season, because I guess they planned on getting rid of us somewhere during the course of the season. They tried to forfeits. We were playing with 2 forfeits. We managed to dodge the bullet, not the 3rd forfeit, where we'd be automatically put out of the league. So now they decided to put us out by eliminating us by being the 5th team. Now, there was a vote taken, and when they decided to do that, it was orchestrated by the commissioner, of course, and the vote was taken 3-2 to eliminate the 5th team. Now, my only problem was the fact that the sponsor of us that sponsored us to pay the $600 fee to get into the league was under the understanding that all teams was going to be in the playoffs. That's why they put up the money to get in the league. Now we come to find that they changed the rules and they're going to eliminate the 5th team, and that was us. And the sponsor feels that she needs some type of repercussion about the $600 and being eliminated for the league and not being able to play in the playoffs. I spoke to several people, and I have gotten no positive response of how we can possibly be in the playoffs. That's the only thing we wanted to be, is in the playoffs.
Would you perhaps like our manager to look into it and give us a report on that?
Well, the manager already has.
Times?
To a degree.
Okay, so we're not in the business of overriding our recreation department. I don't even think we're allowed to. What is it you would like us to do? Just know about it? Is that good enough? Or what would you like us to do?
Well, it would be remiss for 2 things. Just one, 2 things.
Just real quick.
Oh, okay. Well, I had down here a police community relations bureau. During the course of the year, the teams play the police department. That's a good thing to do as far as community relations is concerned. And we have all minorities on our team, and that would be a good thing to do. Now, that's eliminated because they eliminated us from the league.
Okay.
Now,
so what would you like us to do?
I would like for you to convince the commissioner of the, I know he ain't going, right? He ain't going to budge, boy. Of the league to possibly let us play in the playoffs like they've been doing all the 5 previous years. And they voted 3-2, but he's the commissioner. He can talk to them and convince them for us to be in the league, in playoffs.
How about if our manager gives us a memo on what the facts are? And
they said they can't do it because they got to go on vacation in August.
Okay.
And we have the whole month of July to have the playoffs. No problem. All they got to do is do it. They don't want to do it.
All right.
Can we hear from Bob now? Because he's
that
researched, yeah, he's researched this.
Okay.
So he has something that he can
Right,
respond
Mr.
to.
Vornlocker, if you want to do that now.
I did have an opportunity to speak with our Director of Recreation about this. This is a men's 55 and over league that I believe formerly had 4 teams and now has 5. And in the beginning of the season, unlike what Mr. Tibbs just related, it was prior to the beginning of the season, all 5 teams were polled at a meeting, an organizational meeting, as to how many teams would participate in the playoffs. And the vote was, as Mr. Tibbs related, 3-2, that 4 out of the 5 teams would play in the playoffs. While I certainly understand where Mr. Tibbs is coming from as far as his sponsor is concerned, and there may have been some impression that the sponsor had that their sponsorship fee would include the entire season plus what would amount to 2 playoff games.
Which had been all the previous years.
And I don't dispute that. In the previous years, as we discussed, there were 4 teams in the league. Without going into the details of how to schedule playoffs in sporting events, it's obviously much easier to schedule 4 teams in playoffs than it is 5. The vote was taken by the managers of all 5 teams, Mr. Tibbs included.
Which I disagree.
And the vote was 3-2. And so that was the decision that was made, and it was done before any games were played.
But the entry fees were paid.
It was done before any games were played.
But the interest
And that was
paid.
Mr. Tibbs, I gave you your opportunity.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It was done before any games were played, and I did not feel that it was my position at this point in a season being played by adult men that I should intervene and dictate to them how they should run their own adult league. Now, what I will say is the township has some involvement in this, in that the Recreation Trust acts as a pass-through for the fees paid by a sponsoring team that then pay the umpires and for equipment that's related to the running of the league. And I certainly think that it's within my purview to make a recommendation that if our sponsor was under the impression that they were going to play 2 additional games, that we can certainly prorate those games as far as their fee is concerned and refund them the difference. However, I don't feel it's my position to dictate to an adult softball league how their league should be run if they have organizational meetings in the beginning of the season.
Okay, Councilman Chase?
How are the 4 teams out of 5 proposed to be picked?
The 4 teams are playing in the playoffs based on their records with their standings head-to-head matches. And so.
In last place.
And you're in last place. So his team is in last place and therefore is the team that's eliminated. And like I said, if this had been done and I felt that it was done in a way that was intended to eliminate any one particular team, then there might be an issue. But this vote was taken before any games were played or any pitches were pitched.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Francois.
So yesterday, I attended the Human Relations Commission meeting on behalf of our Councilman Rajiv Prasad. Since he couldn't be there, he asked me to participate on his behalf. And this conversation came up at the Human Relations Commission, and the Human Relations Commission all agreed that based on, this was the gist of what was discussed, based on the fact that the rules were changed midstream, and these senior citizens who, quite frankly, need the recreation, need something to do, are looking forward to the participation, the Human Relations Commission recommended the chairman, Gary Rosenthal, to contact Alice Osipowicz and talk to her, and contact Bob LaCour and talk to him and see if there was some kind of way that decision could be reversed. Before I came to the meeting, Gary Rosenthal called me to tell me that the decision was going to remain. But the basic feeling and sentiment of the Human Relations Commission was that it was very unfair to the group and they should be allowed to play. But apparently that's not going to happen. But I think our township manager has come up with a rectification to the situation. And, and I think that should help take away some of the pain. But at the end of the day, it would have been nice if the senior citizens could play, because I think they need stuff to do, and they need the active recreation.
Okay. I'm just hearing a little bit of a different, because Mr. Vorlacher said everything was decided ahead of time, and I'm also hearing was changed midstream. Councilman Kramer?
So I have a question for Councilwoman Francois. Was Was Mr. LaCourte or anyone representing the difference of opinion at that meeting?
No,
So this is a decision made hearing one side.
absolutely.
Okay, so,
But I have to say that Gary had already spoken to Alice prior to that. Gary had already spoken to the township manager prior to that. Gary had also spoken to Bob LaCour prior to us talking about that at the meeting last night.
so it's
he
my
had done his
understanding.
due diligence.
It's my understanding that the vote was taken before a single game was played, and the majority voted this way. I don't know who represented what to the sponsor, but the league voted in a certain way. And you're asking to overrule the league based on,
But
I'm not sure, so point of order, the rules, the council rules are that if someone speaks for 5 minutes, council can reply, but they have to sit down during that reply.
Yeah.
That's the general rule. I'm not
Okay.
picking on you, Mr. Tibbs.
No,
Mr. Tibbs, you have
yeah,
a,
you
you have
can take
a,
your seat, that's
you
fine.
have a great heart. You get involved with many of these things, and I very much appreciate your input to the town.
Yes, sir.
But I'm not sure why human relations is involved in this. And it is my understanding that things were not changed in the middle. Things were decided the same way they were decided every year. But I only heard one side of it before, and now I've heard the other side. So I don't know why council is spending this much time on this.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of other things was going on at the same time, Bill, which I cannot comment on here.
Okay. Okay. Oh, we always appreciate the input, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak from the public?
Seeing no one come forward, motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Public discussion is closed for this meeting. So now we go on to item number 9, council comments. I think we're on this side this time? I forget. Councilwoman Francois? Man,
What? I think the only comment I'll make is that the proclamation and the presentation that was given by AM Productions, I thought was a very visionary. It's going to be a wonderful benefit fashion show on behalf of the American Heart Association and the Alzheimer's Association. And I plan to attend, and it does my heart good to see our young people excel the way that they do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And Councilman Brian Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, just very few comments on the presentation by Amber Ashley. It's very worthwhile. Truly, it really is very inspiration to see young children of Franklin growing up into young adults, regardless of whether they're at Franklin or attend any other high school, but the fact that they're children of our town, to take this type of role and grow into a very mature young adult, in this case, a young woman. I know her parents, as the one girl said, they go way back. It's kind of hard to understand what way back means when you're only 21 or 20, but we go way back. So it's really, for me, a great pleasure to see Ashley grow into the young woman that she is. As far as 4th of July, the next time we meet as a council, it will be July 16th or somewhere thereabouts. July 4th will have passed, so again, I wish everyone a safe and happy Independence Day. That's really what we celebrate as a country. The 4th of July is just a date, and so I really hope everybody enjoys it, and the fireworks that will be provided for the town and for the community. Again, we try to drive that community interest in our town. So it should be a wonderful event here. Having said that, I think that's all for my comments tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman James Vasanella.
Thank you. I have a few comments. First of all, I wanted to mention this past week, I was joined by Mayor Levine, Councilman Chase, and there was Assemblyman Chevakula, I think Senator Bateman, that technically isn't even this district, but he was involved. We were all at the grand opening of the Avalon facility, formerly known as many other names, on Easton Avenue at the corner of Demont and Easton. Make a long story short, it was absolutely gorgeous. The facility and the team that manages it, not just from here, but from my knowledge of their track record, they're doing a wonderful job. Quite honestly, I wish it was woods and would always remain woods, but after going through what was almost 10 years of development and sitting vacant and having issues, 14 I'm hearing over here, but again, to me, I would have been happy if it was just woods, but if it had to be developed, we were, in my opinion, we are fortunate that we were, Avalon Bay Properties came in. It's strictly rentals, and we have some affordable. It's mainly market rate. It's a great addition to the community. They are very dedicated and already are in a very, very good partnership with Great Expectation Center, which borders their property, and have provided some really good resources to them. And matter of fact, I think the CEO of Avalon was so inspired by their work and their mission, Great Expectations, that he joined the board of directors there and is committed to that program. So anyway, and the mayor obviously commented, and Councilman Chase, but it was a really wonderful event. Anyway, moving along, New Jersey Housing Resource Center, I was at our monthly board meeting. We're still reviewing and keeping on top of what's going on with our housing trust fund money. Things are kind of in limbo, but it seems like we're safe for now. I also want to mention that I'm not sure to date, the clerk will probably put it on our website, but they have financial literacy seminars, and just to make sure people understand out there, this is not financial literacy just geared toward, these seminars geared towards someone in foreclosure or someone with very little funds. This is for people of any economic situation. Some people there in very large, expensive houses is just financial problems, especially in these last 5 years, could fall onto anybody. And we invite everyone and anyone to come to these seminars. I think there's one coming up in July. Again, the clerk will put it on, as I believe they always do, on our website. Moving along, congratulations to Ashley. It is good. I don't know them the way that Councilman Regan does, but I watched her progress last year and watched some of the video. I think it was here or online or both that I was watching it. Quite a thing, and to watch it evolve. The only thing I'll ask, and there may be good reason why they don't, but consider a Franklin facility next year. Heldrick Center is absolutely gorgeous, but we have some wonderful ones. I won't name any, one over the other, but in Franklin. So just throwing it out there, but otherwise, it's fantastic what you're doing. Johnny, I don't know enough to make a judgment on what should happen, but it sounds like the manager is trying to compensate the sponsor involved for what seems to be a miscommunication. Again, I don't know enough. I hope everybody just comes back with a positive attitude for next year, and perhaps next year things could be spelt out even more clearly so everybody's aware how things are moving along. I just hope all of our organizations, like the Little League and old or young, they can kind of self-manage, but good luck to you next year, and if something comes up, perhaps it could be brought forward sooner than later, because it sounds like maybe if this was dealt with way back when the original vote was taken, whatever, it could have had some more dialogue, but thanks for everyone participating in that league. One last thing I'll mention is there are, anybody who drives along the Easton Avenue corridor might notice some work going on at the intersection of Easton Avenue and Foxwood Drive. That It's been a long wait, but that is one of many improvements, both for safety and aesthetics, that have been recommended by a 4-town, 2-county task force study team that I was part of a few years ago. And although not much has happened now, it seems like things are really moving along, and that's going to help with the traffic signals. There's better handicap sidewalk accessibility and whatnot. police there and the county is handling it very well as far as traffic. You will have some delays, but that's all in the effort of progress here. And hopefully there'll be more of those improvements from the study coming out, and the town will try to inform the public as they come about. The last thing, I'm sorry, there's one other thing. With the heat going on, I'm not sure the formal policy, but I'm asking the manager to consider as lenient this policy as possible in when we do get extreme heat waves to open the community center and any of the other cooling centers we have in town. Whether you have air conditioning or you don't, or it's just broken or whatever, don't sit at home, old or young, to where it could be health risk. We do have cooling centers when it's extremely hot, so please remember that and pass that along to any people or elderly people who may not know that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Ted Chase.
The main comment I have is just I took a tour today with Henry Patterson and Mark Evans and Ken Klipstein of the New Jersey Water Supply Authority, of sites involved with the dredging that's going to take place. The dewatering site, which is presently a field of wheat. I've always said, remarkable, Franklin Township, we have public housing and we have wheat fields. There's been some controversy about one of the designated sites for putting the dredging barge into the canal, because they have to take it out when there's a bridge or a lock, suggested a foot of Copper Mine Road, and we all agreed that a more likely, a better site would be just south of what's known as the Sherman House in Griggstown. There's plenty of room there, and it would be less disruptive to traffic if they did it there, so they're going to go back to their contractor and say, why not here? I also got a chance to look at the new spillway at Colonial Park, which is just about complete and has been constructed to be very historically authentic, and it's just about complete, and maybe another week or so they'll be finished there. And from Mr. Tibbs and his softball team, I have to say, go out and win your remaining games and beat somebody else out. And if you can't do it this year, do it next year. Maybe you can get Al Jackson or some ringer like that in to play for you. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Phil Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I do want to emphasize, Mr. Tibbs, you do tremendous things for the people. And I think Councilman Chase just summed it up, being an old Red Sox fan, knowing this better than most people, maybe the Cubs. There's always next year. So I would like to, yes, remember last year when I went to the, God, it's already a year, the AMB Productions fashion show. Imagine me at a fashion show. It was just spectacular. You know, I figured I'd be going to something pretty well done, you know, by talented people. It was absolutely professional. It was fun, it was funny, it was serious, it was heartwarming because of the American Heart Association and Alzheimer's Association that are benefiting from it. It was fantastic, and I've probably said this up here before. I'm always nice to people like that because I may be working for them someday. She's one bright kid, and all of the kids involved, not a kid, all of these adults involved with this are amazing people. I will now begin to torture you with announcements of Canal Fest, and that will be on the 19th of October. It was great the last 2 years. It'll be even greater, bigger and better this year, and you'll hear about more of that later. And now towards what Mr. Regan said, basically, about, it's not the 4th of July, it's not a time, that for shopping or just for picnics. Let's go back to 237 years ago. Right about this time, Jefferson had just finished his draft of the Declaration of Independence. Today's June 25th. Just finished his direct Declaration of Independence, gave it to Adams and Franklin. The only change they made was the words, "We hold these truths to be self-evident." Jefferson had written something different, and certainly that improved the text. In 3 days, he'll hand it to the Congress. And by the way, that picture that everyone, with Jefferson there and Hancock sitting in the big chair, and it looks like they're about to sign the Declaration of Independence, that's actually June 28th. It's commemorating the committee handing in the Declaration to the full Constitutional Congress. Right about now, there are 500 ships, British ships, in New York Harbor. It's the largest armada ever to cross the Atlantic by that time. Eventually, the British would amass 45,000 sailors, soldiers, Marines, Hessians together. At the time, the population of Pennsylvania was 30,000. The outcome of this country, not yet born 237 years from today, just a few days from being born, was very much in doubt. We kind of take it like, okay, yeah, there was a war and we won it, and no one knew where this was going, and this was a brand-new idea. And the sacrifice of the people, the signers, the first signer from New Jersey was eventually imprisoned, put on a prison ship where he went mad. He was a rich man beforehand, had nothing to gain by this declaration. He was the top of society. He was imprisoned, he went mad, and he lived the rest of his life on the charity of his friends. Think of these things this 4th of July. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Carl Wright.
Speaking of 4th of July,
Oh, funny that should have been brought up.
July the 3rd, ladies and gentlemen, 4th of July here in Franklin Township. Every year, I think we do a bang-up job. The community sponsors the money, we sponsor the place, and there you have it, 4th of July. Once again, ever since the council defunded 4th of July, the citizens of this town took up the responsibility, the corporations in this town took up the responsibility to make sure we had 4th of July. So, come on out. We might have some games this year, definitely a lot of food. It should be a good time for all, so come on out. And that's basically all I have to say is 4th of July.
Thank you. Councilman Rajiv Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry I was a little late getting back from Boston. So, along the lines of 4th of July, just wanted to also add the contribution India has made. If they hadn't been in India, Columbus wouldn't be looking for a western route. So you wouldn't be having a 4th of July. And if it hadn't been tea from India, you wouldn't have had a Boston Tea Party. And
Don't forget the Greenwich Tea Party in New Jersey.
But it's the tea that I was talking about. Anyway, so let us celebrate the 4th of July, and please all turn out on the 3rd. It's at 6 p.m. onwards. Celebrations will begin. Fireworks are at 9. And I want to thank my colleague, Councilman Carl Wright for all his efforts, and the manager for arranging for the fireworks, sponsors, etc. So it's a great show. Yeah.
We love you.
So, well, I support the fireworks. It's something we all should be celebrating. It's a chance for putting Franklin on the map. On a serious note, we still need to do something with the water. Especially, I would say that we should have a ordinance to fund it and move forward before the interest rates start to creep up again, and it costs us more money. So let's fund it now and get it done. And that includes Little Rocky Hill that we need to address, and of course the pipe as well as the pump station upgrade down there. I just came from Boston, and they had a baseball game there at one of the booths, and they were giving you choices of either a Red Sox cap or a Yankee cap, and of course I wore the Yankee cap in Beantown. I know, that's one of the few things Councilman Chase and I differ on. As far as Ashley's concerned, we did a proclamation last year, and we created a monster. So she's really doing a great job, and, my hat's off to her. And with that, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yes, Councilman Wright?
I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our chairman, Bill Grippo, a vice principal here in the school system and a former council member, for his outstanding work in helping to raise the funds as our chairman of the 4th of July. I want to thank him for raising the money so that all of you can come out and have a good time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And now for my comments. In some of our schools related to the 4th of July, many of them had Flag Day ceremonies. I was at McAfee and Connerly, very good. I'm sorry I couldn't make some of the others. Also, at our high school, they had their video awards for the students who produced various videos, their version of the Oscars, plus they have their own in-house TV channel, etc. It was packed, and they've got a large auditorium, packed. So that was very good and impressive, and they showed a number of the videos, some of the nominees and some of the winning ones. That was very good. And as I said before, well, I guess we used to have the fashion, we have the videos, we have the arts, we have the music. We've always been known for everything related to the arts in Franklin, certainly the academics too. Some of our students go on to prestigious universities and just other good ones and do well for themselves. So I hope the arts continue to flourish in town, as do the academics also, and certainly our sports teams as we get them bigger and better fields too. It was mentioned about the 4th of July, which we're having it on the 3rd of July, Wednesday, the evening. That's already been mentioned, and it is expanded. Very good. The whole family can come right here at our municipal complex. And as was mentioned about a few hundred years ago, those who were signing the Declaration of Independence, they disagreed on many points and came together just to make things work. And somehow we make a lot of progress. We're very modern. Technology keeps doubling every few years. But when we look at gridlock and things like Washington and elsewhere, where it's us against them, I think sometimes we may have taken a step backwards, and it's maybe good to look back so we can take a step forward. And here's a caveat. I could be mistaken, but I'm remembering this is, I believe, the 225th anniversary of the Constitution officially being ratified. It was something like New Hampshire approved it sometime in late June, which made it official. So that's kind of in our bailiwick of celebrations too. And that concludes my comments. So now we go to item number 10 on the agenda, council discussion items, of which there are none. So then we go to item number 11, approval of the minutes, of which we have none to do today. So we go to, cooking right along here, item number 12, approval of the warrants. The warrants are the bills that we pay. Warrants in the amount of $2,953,988.90 on June 25th, 2013 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Is there a motion to pay the warrants as read?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved. Seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on payment of the warrants.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Sure.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan? Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we have item 13A on the agenda. Two items in number 13 are ordinance hearings. As I explained earlier, ordinances are usually voted on twice. The first time they're voted on, and then usually the next meeting or two after, there's a second vote. At that second vote is a public hearing where people can speak about the ordinance. If it passes that second time, it goes into law. So we have two public hearings today. One we've already done earlier that was moved up. So we have 13A, ordinance number 4024-13. It's an ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 226, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 226-13, parking prohibited at all times on certain streets, and Section 226-34, mid-block crosswalks. There's basically two items here. One is Fuller Street. It's not wide enough to park on both sides, so there's parking on one street. And number two is for a crosswalk. It's been there for years, but it's never been officially authorized, so we're doing that now by the passage of it. The Township Attorney has approved the affidavit of publication, and a public hearing is in order. Nope. Yes, it is. Thanks. Is there a motion for public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public hearing on this particular ordinance. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand.
See no one come forward, Mayor. A motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
And second? Okay.
Seconded.
And a second, okay. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Public hearing is closed for this ordinance. Thank you. Is there a motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law?
Motion for final passage, Mayor.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please pull the council on item 13A, ordinance 4024-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer? Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. We already did 13B, ordinance 4025-13. That's town being paid for and to take over the detention basins at Hampton Chase. So now we have 14, fiscal year 2014, Hamilton Street Special Improvement District Budget Introduction. This is technically a resolution. Our Hamilton Street is a special improvement district. There's a tax levied only on the businesses there, and then they allocate it amongst themselves to do best for the business of the district. This budget is $77,000, which I believe is unchanged from last year. So this is Resolution 13-295, Introduction of Fiscal Year 2014 Hamilton Business and Community Corporation Special Improvement District Budget, and to set the public hearing date that's presented to the Township Council for adoption. And do we have the public hearing date here?
August 15th.
It's August 15th, at our next meeting. Okay, thank you. So is there a motion for Resolution 13-295, please?
Seconded.
Moved. Seconded. Madam Clerk, please pull the council on item 14, Resolution 13-295, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is carried. Next, we have ordinance introductions, of which we have 5 today. And so, the first one is item 15A on the agenda, ordinance 4026-13. And this is a bond ordinance providing for the 2013 road resurfacing program in and by the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $2.75 million, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $2.6 million bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the costs thereof. This is authorizing $2.75 million for our road paving, of which $2.6 million will be bonded. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, July 16th, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on 15A.
Mayor?
Pardon me, Councilman Kramer.
So, again, I am pushing for roads to be repaved, and at this amount. I get frequent calls about the problem with roads, in particular Canal Road, which is one of the longest roads in town. Apparently, it's, maybe because it's the longest, it is the most complained about road in town, or so I'm told by our engineering department. I have 3 letters here. Actually, one of these was on June 11th to Mr. Levine, or Mayor Levine, and Councilwoman Sherman, and Councilwoman Sherman passed it on to me, and this gentleman states, almost daily I turn onto Canal Road. Almost daily, I dramatically swerve to avoid the many potholes that are littered along the shoulder of the northbound lane of Canal Road. Another person writes, with the warm weather fast approaching, once again, I bring you to your attention the dilapidated condition of this roadway. My cyclists, so he's someone who rides the bike, and I spent some time with him driving up and down Canal Road. My cyclists use the roadway are increasingly finding it dangerous. Another woman, actually this woman emailed me on her cell phone from Canal Road, but not as dangerous as it sounds, or maybe it is. She was pulled to the side waiting for the AAA to come for her blown tire. I'm a Franklin Township resident. I'm asking for your help trying to convince the road department to repave the section of Canal Road between Butler and Bunker Hill Road because it's in such bad shape. The pothole just north of 943 Canal Road is so large and deep that drivers swerve around it. I guess I have a bit of a personal stake in this, one, living on Canal Road, and two, in the last month, my wife has twice gotten flat tires on Canal Road. Right here is one of them. This is right near the big turn near the water treatment plant, and a car swerved wide on that big corner. She was kind of forced to the side, and her car went off the side right there, and you can see the side of the size of that dip. This is a close-up of a car passing it, and if you look right there, I'm sorry, I hope the videographer is showing this, but if you look right there, you can see not only her, this was all along this area, several car scratchings of cars that must have bottomed out as they went along here. That's me standing in the ditch. going up well above my ankles. But Canal Road isn't the only problem. Here's Treptow. You can see the numerous potholes along Treptow, and a large pothole, another tire blower on the side of Treptow. If we don't pave these roads relatively quickly at an expedited rate, some of these roads won't get paved for 8 years. And these are roads that need to be paved right now. So I think anything that is not going to pave these roads at an expedited rate is going to substantially increase our costs. You know, look at this portion of Canal Road. That pavement is undermined. If that is not fixed, that's going to cost more and more, let alone cars are swerving. We have a dangerous situation. So I am hoping, and I'm confident the council members will vote to continue to pave these roads. Thank you.
Councilman Chase?
Now, I also received that message passed on by Deputy Mayor Sherman about Canal Road, particularly the stretch from Route 518 to Griggstown. In fact, today, and as I mentioned earlier, going along the canal, seeing the sites important to the dredging project, I observed a lot of potholes, particularly in that southern stretch. Somewhere a little north of Blackwell's Mills Road, we hit a pothole that I was really afraid that the Water Authority's Jeep would have blown a tire, because it was one of the worst shocks I've ever felt in a pothole. Unfortunately, the decision so far has been not to repave the stretch from, at least the stretch from 518 to Griggstown, because the dredging project will put heavy wear on the road from the dewatering site at 1391 Canal Road out to Route 518, and the contractors will be responsible for maintaining that stretch of road then. I really don't know whether we can accelerate the paving of the rest of it, because it's always trying to, the engineer always tries to project the paving as over a complete stretch from one road to another. But I do hope that we can get the many, many potholes along there filled as soon as possible. Plus, of course, the problems such as the one that Councilman Kramer showed. There's a bit of a technical give and take here. What we've been trying to, and which was described to me in a complaint about the recent repaving of Coppermine Road, we're trying to make these rural roads less crowned than they have been, which means you're less likely to slide off them in winter. One result of that is that you then have a much higher pavement on the sides, which means in effect you have a much greater ditch next to them, which ideally we'd fill up somewhat with a grass swale that would purify the water running off and allow it to sink in. On Old Georgetown Road, after complaints, they just threw a lot of rock into those, which will make them not work as well as drainage ditches. And the other problem is that then you can get undermining of the sloping side of the pavement there, which was what was shown in Councilman Kramer's picture. So this, again, is a technical problem. I'm not a construction engineer, but I do hope that our township engineer will address this in planning the repaving of these roads in the future. We do have in this bond issue repaving from Elm Street in East Millstone as far as Blackwell's Mills Road, but and this, from the inspection that Deputy Mayor Sherman and I did of Canal Road, we thought that the stretch from Blackwell's Mills Road through to Bunker Hill Road was not as bad as the more northerly part. I do think the most southerly part from Griggstown to 518 is maybe even the worst. But as I say, there's some good reasons why we can't do that one right away. But all of the roads in this ordinance we did check out and recommend to the township engineer, because he had other ones on a list. So we selected what we thought were the ones most in need of paving. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Basanelli?
Yes, real quick. Okay, I appreciate the comments by my other two colleagues here, and I agree with just about everything I believe they said. I just also want to suggest that this is township-wide, as I think they'd agree with. They're most knowledgeable of their areas of town, understandably, as I've been watching the Fifth Ward and the surrounding areas. So I don't really think there's any question as to finding roads to fill the amount of money. I think it's more like a process of elimination, because quite frankly, based on the engineering study, I think, and I think Councilman Kramer showed it way back in one of his presentations, we probably could be doing double the amount that we're doing and still just kind of caught up. So without going into details all over the rest of the town, I know a lot of people were waiting for JFK. Some money was allocated. We're waiting for school to get out. I think this ordinance actually lets us do a larger section than we would have had we done it last year. So now we'll be doing a good part of JFK. You have Overbrook, the back entrance exit to St. Matthias, which is horrendous would be an understatement. So I'm not going to keep going on and on, but there isn't, everyone's not going to be happy as far as every road that I'm sure we would all like up here is not included, but this is really moving it along township-wide, including the ones mentioned here tonight and that I've just thrown out. And I think Fairley, which was lost in the shuffle, is now going to be able to be done if this passes. So in general, this is a good thing. I know there may be other opinions, but we can't do enough right now to get our infrastructure back to where it should be. It was mentioned a cost issue, anything mechanically. I think it was also mentioned a safety issue. You know, at a certain point, a township can have liability. So for several reasons, I support this, and I think next year we should, I know there's been discussions, and there'll be more about how to even expand what we're doing, or I should say to expedite, like it was mentioned, our whole program. So in general, just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Okay. My comments. I was just going to the vote. I hadn't planned on saying anything, but very likely just voting for it because it went through anyway, and that's how it is. So I don't know. People have the right to comment, of course, but since it was done, I'll say it also. I get calls for roads, too. I get calls for a lot of things. Probably more than anything else, I get calls for taxes, and that they're hurting, and they're being pushed out. And you know what? I agree. We need this money for the roads. And you know what? If we had more money, I'd put it into it, if it were my choice. But I don't feel I do, because we've got an unbalanced budget. And you know what? I need more money for education funding. At least our Board of Education does. And I've tried to go out and do things about that, and I've said that a little bit, and that hasn't cost the town any money. Tried to bring more business into town. We need more of that. We need more jobs. We need more local places for people to go to work. Again, I've tried to go out and speak to companies and do that at no cost to us. And we need other things. We need more sidewalks. We need more services for our seniors. We need more housing that's affordable for people. We need a youth center. That would be terrific. That would help us a lot. That would help the kids in town. And we need more recreation for them so they've got things to do. And I really need more police officers because public safety is number one. But you know what? We've got a finite pool, and we're allocating it. And though I would like to do all of those things, we're not doing most of them. We're doing them to a degree, but they all could be done more. And I wish I had the money for it. And I don't. So I've got to make what I feel are prudent fiscal decisions, just like we do in our homes. If everyone ran their home or their business or their town or their state like the federal government, we would all be bankrupt. They run the Ponzi scheme called Social Security, and they have no compunction about passing debts on to our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And I just don't want to do that if I can avoid it. So is it good to pave the roads? Absolutely. Is it good to build sidewalks? Yes. Is it good to give children education? Yes. Is it good to have more police officers and local police units and a bike unit and reaching out to our schools and our population and senior services? Yes, 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 yes. But each of us draws the line somewhere, and hopefully all of us do that to his or her conscience, which I am not doubting at all. Just that maybe we put that in a different line.
Mr. Mayor?
So that's all. Even though I wasn't going to say anything, I figured I would answer. Councilman Wright.
I agree that we have a finite pool, but at the same time, if you don't fix the roads, you don't get industry to come to town. If you don't fix the roads, the jobs won't come to Franklin Township. Now, I myself went to out there to look at the roads, to see what we had, and again, deteriorating roads. I went to a freeholder, Zaborowski, and asked him if he could come in, because it's a county road where I live off of Franklin Boulevard. Could he come and pave that road? It's a county road, and somehow or another, he got the money to pave that road. Now, that means that everybody can come up and down that road, cars won't fall apart, shocks won't blow up, tires won't go down the road, but if you don't do something, nothing gets done. And that's my problem. We keep saying no to some things and yes to other things, and you got to start with the basics first. Yes, I would love to go out and Senior Citizen Center, but if you don't have the roads for the people to get to Senior Citizen Center, what's the use of building it? Infrastructure. You got to have infrastructure. And you coming out saying, I wish I had the money to go somewhere, doesn't jive with me. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Everyone has their opinion. I could be wrong, but if you don't put money into this, what are you going to put money into first? I mean, come on.
Okay, I don't want to keep going back and forth. My just answer is, if whatever you said, I could put that on any project, in town or anything like that. So
I'm not afraid to go
Councilman
back.
Craig.
I'm not afraid to go back and forth. I don't dodge arguments on going back and forth. Now, I can't build community center, and I can't do this, and I can't do that, and we're all trying to bring business to town. You're no one special about bringing business to town. We're all trying to do that. We're all trying to do all of those things, and there's a lot of things I can't do. I can't hire more cops. But I can fix roads, and I know that if I don't fix roads, it's going to cost me more in the long run. A road that goes 5 years beyond when it's supposed to be built. This is not me. This is not theory. You like to call it theory. These are engineers whose job it is to repave roads, stated in a government study that if you go 5 years beyond the time that a road needs to be paved, you can triple the cost. That was the conservative number out of that report. Triple the cost of the road. So penny wise, pound foolish.
Okay, and I don't dodge it, so I will go back and forth now. I don't know if that's what you meant or not, but I just was trying to end the argument for all of us, not end the argument, end the discussion. Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to disagree, and we can both disagree. I think it's theoretical. For $1 million, I could hire 20 police officers. I could build myself most of a youth center. I could do a lot of things. It's allocating the money. You think it's the best place there? Fine. I'm respecting your opinion. I wish you'd respect my opinion sometimes, though you don't have to. And you know what? No, not everyone has done the same to bring business into town. And I won't delineate it right now, but can I finish?
Yes.
I don't doubt anyone else's sincerity or what they want to do. Just don't question mine. This is a fiscal decision. This is my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it. And you don't have to respect it, but I try and respect everyone else's here. I said that several times during during this evening. I never put anyone down. I just stated my opinion and about the things I need, so fine.
Now,
Go ahead. Councilman Kramer.
no one disrespected you, Mr. Mayor. You're the only one now who has shown disrespect. This is, every time we have a disagreement, I was calm about it. I talked to Fats. You bring it around to we're picking on you. And that needs to stop, because we're not picking on you. We just stated our opinion. We stated it quite simply. And as far as it being $1 million or $2 million, this is stretched out over 20 years. It's a 20-year bond. Even though I'm against bonding, that's what this is. This is a 20-year bond. So yes, you could hire 5 police officers or whatever for $1 million, but that would be for 1 year. This will pave these roads for 20 years. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry if you take offense, but I don't know where the offense is generated.
Okay, I'm not going to go into that. As far as picking on me, that's fine. This is getting stupid already. I'm not going to go back and forth on pick you and little things. We state our opinions, we do it. If we do it in an above-board manner, that's better, fine. I'm done with it. I stated it. I don't have the money, and that's it. That's my opinion. You want to do it? Fine. You got the votes.
Can I ask you a question? Simple question.
Councilman Wright, go ahead.
Middlebush Park was sitting in your backyard, and I mean your backyard because you were a mayor part of that time, and as a council member. And that sat there and sat there and sat there, and you were on the council. The money was already there. Why wasn't it done? I'm not picking on you. I'm not saying nothing. You don't have to respond because, yes, there were some other council members sitting up here that didn't do anything, but the money was there. So what I'm saying is we all can pick our little priorities. We all have this, we all have that. But at the end of the day, it's everybody up here's responsibility to vote and to see things the way they are in our own mind or whatever, but we all have to come together as a group, a consensus. So please do not think that we're picking on you. I didn't pick on anybody up here. So let it go.
Okay, that's a fair question. I'll answer it. Note slightly off. That's what I say, but I was asked a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask, could we move on?
No, because I was asked a question and on this in particular.
I move to call the question.
I will recognize you when I'm finished. I was on the council when we got Middlebush Park at the lead of then Councilman, maybe Deputy Mayor Harry Weber. We negotiated with Pizzo and Pizzo to give us a 70-acre park right next to the municipal building. Otherwise, they would have just given us nothing. So when I was on the council, yes, we did get it. They gave us a design for the park, which we rejected because it was impractical and flimsy. The council made a positive decision at that point that our open space funds over the next many years are going to go first into land acquisition because that is the best use of it. When we are getting to the saturation point or we find a good opportunity, which is both now, then it would start going towards recreation and historic preservation. And that, don't talk about, that is absolutely true.
But it took 10 years.
It took 10 years to buy millions of dollars worth of land first, so we couldn't turn $10 million towards a park when we were acquiring hundreds of acres of open space. If you disagreed with that philosophy, that was fine. I'll turn the same question. Where were you? Why don't you come to the council meetings and say, I disapprove how you're handling your open space fund?
I did. I watched this council, Mickey Mouse, a skate park in Middlebush Park. I watched that. I was here. And if we want to go back and start saying who was here and who wasn't, the park was there for 10 years. And if you cared about the residents, and if you cared about what the kids do, if you cared about teen centers, if you cared about all that good, great stuff, you would have gone to the open space and said, we need to fix the parks. We have too many residents that have no place to go, so let's fix the parks. Let's build parks. Now, there's no question. I didn't ask anything. I just made a simple statement. And that's the way I'm going to leave it. Simple statement.
And I'll have one more simple statement. If I were concerned about kids in parks, that's not the way I chose to do it at the time. Look, I've dealt with it. I've worked with other things being built. I've been on the SCAP board for a decade. I've watched the open space and agreed and disagreed on what they've done. And I'm not going to go into this, getting ridiculous already.
So can we
Anything
move
else?
on? Can we
Yeah, I
move
think we
on?
can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It's all over a road project, which we were almost at the vote for. Ms. McCarthy, please pull the counts on item 15A, ordinance 4026-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
No.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Okay. Motion is carried. Next, we have item 15B, ordinance 4027-13, a bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $1,033,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of 983,000 bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the costs thereof. This is general capital items for the Township. These were included in our budget. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Tuesday, July 16th, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please pull the counts on item 15B, ordinance 4027-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. We next have item 15C, ordinance 4028-13, a bond ordinance providing for various capital acquisitions and improvements for the water utility of the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $656,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $656,000 bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the costs thereof. This is bonds coming out of our water budget for some infrastructure. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Tuesday, July 16th, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please pull the council on item 15C, ordinance 4028-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. We next have item 15D, ordinance 4029-13. It's a bond ordinance providing for improvements to Middlebush Park, a lawful public purpose by and in the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $3,675,000 from the Open Space Trust Fund, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3.5 million bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the costs thereof. Basically, the lights in Middlebush Park are going to probably cost on the order of $100,000 to $150,000 more than we expected, but on a prior phase of Middlebush Park, there was some savings of about $250,000, and this kind of all does that, so a little later than suspected, we should get lighting and other improvements to Middlebush Park. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, public hearing, and final adoption on Tuesday, July 16th, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Dr. Chase? Councilman Chase?
I would just like to ask a question of clarification to be completely sure. The $3,675,000 and the $3,500,000 are not additive, I trust. It's just that we will be issuing those bonds, and then we will be paying them back out of the receipts of the Open Space Trust Fund,
Exactly correct.
the open space tax.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Just in case anybody wondered about the way it's written in the agenda.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 15D, ordinance 4029-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, we now have the fifth and final of our ordinance introductions, ordinance 4030-13, 15E on the agenda. It's an ordinance of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, authorizing the acceptance of a deed of easement and right-of-way from David Trin, Melva Trin, and Christopher J. Trin in connection with Block 11.02, Lot 22, Old Georgetown Road. And that's docket number PLN-08-0004. This is an acceptance of a deed from a subdivision. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, July 16th, 2013, 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 15E on the agenda, ordinance 4030-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. We next have our consent agenda, items 16A through 16U. And the consent agenda are items generally of a routine nature that, upon which we can vote at one time. And it's any council person's prerogative to pull something off for a separate vote. So the items 16A through U, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Is there, and before we move the whole thing, just so, I'm going to move S item P, Resolution 13-311, authorized settlement Kings Road to be a separate vote. Any other adjustments, discussion, motion for the remainder?
I'd
Councilman
just
Chase?
like to ask a question about, what is it, item N, stipulation of settlement tax appeal, Tall Timbers Development Associations, and this is essentially the landlord of the former Good Time Charlie's in Kingston, and I noticed it was a rather dramatic decrease in assessment for the year 2011 from $1,165,000 to $259,000. And I wondered if our manager knows, is that because the building was empty through the entire year, that gives them that much of a tax reduction?
And I believe what it was is it was, as a result of the settlement, it was a multi-year settlement, and the amount and the way it's adjusted with the multi-year settlement reflects that for 1 year of the settlement. This goes back to, I think, if I'm correct, 2009 in this particular case. So there's 2009, 2010, 2011, and 2012. And without having any more information in front of me right now, my understanding is that it's not because it was vacant, it's because that settlement included a reduction for 1 year and a dismissal on the other years.
So does it go back up?
It goes back up, yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, no. Well, we certainly know that that building is worth far more than $275,000.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion or motion for the remainder of the consent agenda?
Motion for passage of the remainder.
In a second?
Second.
In a second. Ms. McCarthy, please pull the council on the consent agenda resolutions as presented to the council, with the exception of item P, which is Resolution 13-311, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. So now we come back to item number P, Resolution 13-311, authorized settlement agreement, Kings Row. This is a development proposed for the corner, basically the corner of...
Not the corner. It's away from, it's
It's a,
two lots.
It's one.
It's, you've got Jan Hole between it and the corner.
okay. So it's a when, it's almost when New Brunswick Road tees at Cedar Grove Lane in that general vicinity, but not all the way to the corner. That's owned by Cedar Hill. Okay. So that's the basics of where it is. So I'm going to ask our attorney, Mr. Ranone, to give us the basics on what that proposed settlement is, please.
The basics, Mayor, are, this is a multi-year litigation. It actually began, I'm going to say probably in 2006. It was in my first go-round as township attorney, then was handed off to Ms. London, and then back to me. It essentially, the property is zoned R40. It is recommended in the master plan for an R15 zoning. For most of the time, this was what we'll call a builder's remedy suit. There was parts of this litigation involved the property owner trying to get himself into our affordable housing plan. But essentially, the last permutation of this is there was an application for 62 townhouses on the property. The zoning board granted an approval for 25 townhouses. The court determined that the zoning board could not just merely pick a number to approve, that they had an obligation to either grant or deny the application that was before them. So the matter was then kicked back to the zoning board again. The township itself is a party to these proceedings because in all of the various counts, in all of the various cases that have been filed, there's always been a challenge to the validity of the township's zoning ordinance. And remember, we have a zoning ordinance that's different than the master plan. So with all of those things in mind, and knowing that the zoning board had already approved 25 units, we attempted to take one last shot. And when I say one last shot, there have been literally dozens of shots at trying to settle this matter over the course of the last 6 or 7 years. And we believe that we came to a number. It's 34 units split between 2 and 3 bedroom units. It is significantly less than the 62 units that the developer wanted. It is not far off from what was acceptable to the zoning board in the last go-round. We believe that, given the litigation costs, the potential challenge to the township zoning ordinance, that it's a reasonable and fair settlement for all parties.
And how much land is that?
I believe, Mayor, that it's about 15 acres. It's about 15 acres. It's two lot and blocks, and I believe it is split 10 and 5, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
It is, that's correct, it's right around 15.
Okay,
I think it's 15.
okay. Here is, does anyone want to discuss this, or I'll just go then? Councilman Chase?
I would just say that having lived with this on the planning board since 2005, when Mr. Rubin was first trying to get a project of 64 units into our COA plan, I am so relieved to see this resolution, which I think by and large comes much closer to what the township wanted for the site than what the developer wanted for the site. The R15 in the master plan actually was my suggestion based on the R15 zoning of the World's Fair development behind it. It was intended as an olive branch at that time, which was not grasped, but we now have a settlement that is fairly close to that.
Okay, and I just ask Councilman Chase, you said, what was the settlement offered, 25, or was it some higher amount, do you recall?
Well, 25 would have, the zoning board's 25 units actually is what the property would bear at an R15 zoning. And of course, if it's townhouses, they're occupying less space and leaving more undeveloped space than if it were that many single-family homes. So even 34 townhouses were probably leaving more space not paved or built on than it would have been at 25 single-family homes.
Okay, just for Mr. Renon, if you
Yes.
recall, are there contributions to our housing trust fund, or are there affordable units there?
There are no affordable units. There is a 1% of assessed value contribution to the Affordable Housing Fund. And I've already spoken I've spoken with Mark Healy and reviewed our affordable housing plan, and we did not need units at this site in order to be consistent with our fair share plan, housing plan.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilwoman Francois?
Yeah, I would just like to ditto what Councilman Chase said about us finally coming to some agreement here. I think it's a win-win. It's probably the best settlement we can get. And the fact that we've spent over $150,000 in legal fees, I think it's time to move on with this resolution.
Okay. Okay, here's my take on it. If someone drags us out in anything, that's not a factor in my decision, and I'm not saying the owner there wasn't sincere. I'm sure he believed everything he said and that it was best for the town, et cetera, et cetera. However, if someone takes a position strongly with which the town disagrees for years, that doesn't mean to me that I should be settling with him just because he's taken position opposite of me. Here's where it comes through, and I've, no secret, I've told the council before, and I reiterated that to the deputy mayor on Friday, who passed it along to all of you, that I'm not real comfortable with this. And here's the reason. At R15, which was proposed, we're still 36% above where we should be. That's more dense, it's going to lead to other places. But here's even more so. And I'm going to talk about affordable housing, because I have people, and I'm sure all of us have people who are upset that they can't get a home. And you know what? I'm not talking about legal requirements. To me, it's a moral requirement. I think I should get more, like 3% to my housing trust fund, and that way I can help out other people, I can do everything there. Several of us were just at Avalon, and they had, actually, I think it was a couple dozen units, which are going for,
15%.
they had 15% going for affordable housing. And look, you can tell me we're together with our COA plan, and you know what? Before COA, Franklin was ahead of the curve. We had affordable units before the whole mess the state was in. That's why we had a little bit easier time of it when all this was going on, because I like to believe, we're a moral community and helped our people. So even though we don't need it, to me, that doesn't mean I shouldn't offer it. I'm always hearing, whether it's in the accounting practice, people come in town, or as mayor, where people are upset that they can't get out on their own, they can't afford it. And so that's all. I don't like the units, I don't like the affordable housing aspect of it. I mean, if one or the other kind of shifted a little bit, I could buy it, but it just seems, I'm standing here from the town's perspective. If I put myself in the town's shoes and I say, what's in this for me? As a town, well, it stops litigation, but, again, I don't want to stop litigation just because someone's been coming at me for years. I got more kids in school, which is a little bit of a shock to our system, that we all love children. Our Board of Ed has to absorb that and pay for it. And again, I've got a whole swath of people who could do more service. So in this way, I don't really like it. And again, I like, personally, all the parties involved. It's nothing against them. It's just that when I put on my hat as the township official, I say, what's in it for me? And I'm not getting, personally, the answer that I like. So I'd like to see something different for us. That's my take on it.
So, Mayor?
Councilman Vasanella
I'm
and
sorry.
Councilman Kramer?
Oh, and I respect your opinion, and I've had trouble with this, on this as long as, well, Ted also via the planning board lawsuit. Just be clear here, more or less 25 houses would have been allowed to have been built. Is that, Mr. Ray, known?
Under the R15 zoning, yes. In fact, they got an approval from the zoning board.
That's what I meant, that the zoning
Correct.
board was allowed to build 25. So I'm not trying to pick hair, Mayor, I'm just trying to, or split hairs, I'm just trying to, the public see where my decision comes from. If you have 25 homes on 15 acres, you're probably going to have pretty large houses, I would imagine, some pretty, 4 or 5 bedroom homes. I don't know what the exact rateable would be. And we're talking about 25, what could have been very large homes versus 34, 2 and some 3 bedroom. So, when I was reviewing this, without going into all the details of our strategies and our negotiations, I personally was looking at, where we at with how, not just every bedroom represents a person, but are we really, is that much more going to be built, or is there going to be that many more kids in our school system? And truthfully, I don't know the price points of these townhouses, but I see them as being possibly more affordable for purchase or rent than for the majority of Franklin residents than would have been larger McMansion type. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at it, and I share your concerns. I think everyone up here probably did in the process. But, when you really compare it, I don't know how much more this developer is getting by this this settlement, proposed settlement, than had it gone the way of the other, which I believe was not going to be acceptable and would have continued a lawsuit anyway. So I think you and I have shared for years now, don't just cave into some developer suing, but, Avalon was 384, let's just put this in some context, 384, and I had issues, and I think certain portions of it went prior to Avalon. I had voted against some of the presentations of how many units. So, but we're talking 384, we're talking 34, we're talking 25 larger homes could have been built versus 34 townhouses. So I truly respect your approach, but, there's not that much difference, really, well, in the way I've dissected it, in one settlement versus the other, except that it wouldn't have been settled because we would still be continuing, probably going to trial or much more involved lawsuit, because that settlement, my understanding, wouldn't have happened what the zoning board proposed, the 25 homes. So anyway, I just wanted to throw in a little bit for the public where I'm coming from, and whatever it is, hopefully it will be a good solution for Franklin.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Kramer?
So I'm going to give my opinion, and I hope it's respected. We're talking about a base of 25 homes. That's what the zoning board granted them, and that's probably the lowest we're going to conceivably could get out of a court. I don't see us possibly getting any lower than that. Where, on the other hand, if we were to go into a lawsuit and lose, then it could go as high as 55 homes. I mean, he originally asked for 62, so we're risking 55 homes. The township attorney alluded to it, that we also risk our plan. We risk our zoning. That if the plaintiff were to prevail on this, then that might open the floodgates for others to build homes. As far as the fair share housing, the low-cost housing, Franklin has done above and beyond what was asked. We have a huge amount of that, and yeah, you can always have more, but we did not, now at this late time, I don't think is the proper time to say, oh, let's ask them for more fair share, or for more low-cost housing, meaning more units. That's generally understood. If you give someone low-cost housing or ask them to put in for low-cost housing, they're going to get more units to try to make up for that. I mean, that should have been a negotiating point to bring in earlier, that I do not recall was ever a negotiating point. As far as bringing the children in, so the school board does a calculation. They have a person come in and they calculate 5 years in advance how many kids are going to be in school. And they're amazingly dead on. 5 years in advance, they're within 15 kids. And the number they use per house is 0.2. Now, the houses are different, lower cost, attracts younger people, more likely to have children, more bedrooms, et cetera, but we're talking 2 to 4 children here, so I don't think that's really going to make an impact. We talk about $12.5 million per child, $1,000 per child in school, but that's when you bring in 100 at a time, because you have to build more infrastructure, et cetera. It also takes into account how many special ed kids you have. With 2 to 4, the incremental cost is minimal. This pales compared to Avalon, this pales compared to Summerfield. I think the bottom line is, where are we now versus where could we be in the future? In the future, we could be at 55 houses. In the future, we could spend a significant amount of money getting to a losing case. So I'm going to ask the attorney several things. What are we looking at in costs? I know you can't give a precise amount, but give us some kind of feel for costs.
Well, 2 things. Before I get to that, I just want to correct, the parcel's a little bit over 8 acres, so that's why at 3 to an acre, you get to 25 units. So I just want to correct that. As you know, it's always difficult with regards to litigation costs, but I think that given the fact that in this case you have an active case in the zoning board and an active case before the council, that probably between those two, it's probably in the neighborhood, I would think, to get to a conclusion, if you had to try it somewhere in the neighborhood, I believe probably between $100,000 and $150,000 for the 2 attorneys. So that would be my guess, because for the 2 attorneys and also for the experts and everything that would go with defending a zoning case.
So $100,000 to $150,000, and I personally don't care how long this has gone on. I sleep every night, don't really think about it on a day-to-day basis. But the point, I think, is how long it goes on is it goes to the tenacity of the plaintiff. And that means that we very well may be spending this full $100,000 to $150,000 over 9 houses. We were happy with 25, or at least that's what zoning board passed, and that would have gone through. This is 9 more houses. We beat him down from a significant number higher. These were strong negotiations, and I think Councilwoman Francois put it well. This is the best we're going to get, and I don't want to spend $100,000 to $150,000 to risk being in a worse situation, a far worse situation than we are now.
Okay, others?
No, just, it's not nine homes, it's 9 units.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just.
Correct. That's correct.
Because if it was, 35, 40 homes, I personally don't know if I would be going along with this, but it is restricted to townhouses, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilman Chase?
I'd just like to point out that we have gone ahead with the affordable housing that RPM is now building along Route 27, just south of Franklin Boulevard. And the senior affordable housing of the, I think it's called Independence Crossing now at Hamilton Street and Franklin Boulevard. Both of these are above and beyond our COA plan. So we're certainly providing more affordable housing, and I imagine that RPM will come back soon with a proposal for even more affordable housing in that portion of the town where they are the designated redeveloper. So really, to say, oh, we ought to get affordable units out of this, which is really a red herring.
Okay. And to answer some of these, look, the bottom line for me is the big thing. It's you know what? We should go, all of us, speak to some of these people. Affordable housing all over, it's a waiting list. It'll break your heart if you speak to people who can't get a home. And we should be providing affordable housing for everyone, well, in every development that's more than a few units. It's just the moral thing to do, in my opinion. As far as us being beat down from 60 to 34, you know what? He could have started at 7,000 units. We'd say, wow, gee, we got majorly him down from 7,000 to 34. The zoning board, which is fair, almost always, said 25, and we're exceeding that by some 36%. If the developer contributes to our affordable trust fund, it doesn't cost us as a town anything. If he contributes to the housing units of affordable housing, which again, we need, people need that, it doesn't cost us anything. Now, the one part might be if we say this is our condition, he may pull out and say no, and you know what, we're in litigation again. And you know what, if some things we litigate and some things we don't, and I don't, you can think judge is going to say to us, you got to do 55 units at R15, that would be 25, I don't see it. Who knows, I could be wrong.
No, I don't.
So, here's my thought then, and you can now deal with it as you like. If I were, this is me personally, 34 units is fine. Go knock your heart out, building and providing nice homes for people. But I would amend it to say, from 1% to 3% in our housing trust fund, and contribute 15%, rounded down, of affordable units. And that's my motion to amend. Is there a second? Okay. Is there a discussion on the motion? Okay. So, Ms. McCarthy, and I think we kept this one respectful for the most part. Can you vote on poll the council on the motion to amend, not on the resolution. This is saying same number of units, 1% to 3% housing trust fund, 15% rounded down on affordable units.
Excuse me, can I just want to make
Mr.
sure,
Young?
we're asking for them to contribute to the Housing Trust Fund and build affordable units?
I'll take either or. Is that often done?
No, just a little clarification from our attorney.
It's usually, no, give
It's
me,
one or the other usually.
educate me.
Yeah, what is
One or the
the
other.
agreement so far?
Excuse me?
What is the agreement with
I think the agreement is
settlement?
1% and 34 units. No affordable housing.
Okay. All right, so I'll just then say,
Just a contribution?
Correct.
all right, then okay, I appreciate the clarification. I'll go with then 15%. Keep that 1% as it is.
Gotcha.
Well, in fact, if you
Which is like
include
5.
15% affordable units, then you make no contribution to the Housing Trust Fund.
Correct.
You are exempted from that.
Correct. It's an inclusionary development then, and it doesn't make a contribution.
Okay, thanks for the education. Alternatively, some may say, I'm just picking a number out there, 3%, but no affordable units. Is that right?
Okay.
I mean, that's happened in towns.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to get a clarification. It's conceivable, although we're standing strong, we could lose our housing trust fund to the state?
We could.
Okay.
Wait,
To
say
the
that
governor of your party.
again? Say that again?
The governor has proposed to take the housing trust funds which aren't spent and put them into the state budget.
Yes, the governor has also proposed to dissolve COA. I mean, let's talk about it. The member of your party, the leader of your party, wants to get rid of COA, completely get rid of it. So,
I wasn't being partisan here. My whole point was, if theoretically we said, put 3% in the housing trust fund, we may not get the benefit. So therefore, my thought process is, if we were going to do anything, it's better to get affordable units than money in the housing trust fund, because I may lose it. I mean, I'll skip by the partisan point.
So, Mr. Mayor, can we just get a clarification on what the amended motion is going to be that we're going to vote on? That there was
Okay.
a second to?
Okay, so here's where, with my further education, I'll change it to 15% affordable units, and then I guess I'll eliminate, so to speak, contributions to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. But if anyone really is going to entertain it, in any real way, I would be, I'd certainly listen to anything.
Mr. Mayor, but
Yeah.
we are one of the leaders in affordable housing.
point of order, do we still have
Yeah.
a second? Are you still seconding it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a second. Now,
Okay,
can we
so-
call for the vote?
The discussion.
Yeah. Councilman
thought we had
Prasad, did you
discussion.
want it, or you're done?
No, I'm done. I just wanted to just point out that the township is fully subscribed in its core obligations.
That's
Over,
correct.
over.
I agree. All right, anything else?
Yeah, I would just like to say we are fully prescribed in that we are overprescribed, and we have kind of suffered for that. When the governor basically ended COA, though it's kind of still breathing slightly, what's been decided is all those towns who didn't comply are being given a free buy on that. They're getting off with that. We, however, have done this, and when you add COA units, generally, in fact, in all cases except this one, the developer puts in extra, we allow them, the whole thing was, in order to get those extra COA units, we would allow them extra units so that they could make their money, and that's what pumped many kids into school, and that's why a school board referendum is coming up, because we have to build a new school. Now, I do believe in housing, but this is housing. This is housing for people, and we have fulfilled our COA needs. So Franklin has suffered, I'm not saying inappropriately, but it has suffered as the people in the American Revolution suffered, so for good cause, but they've done their fair share. So that's my point. Thank you.
Councilman Chase?
Well, I would just point out, Mr. Mayor, I don't think you understand the economics of the situation. If a developer puts in 15% affordable units, he has to have a lot more other units in order to offset the cost of the fact that the affordable units will be rented or sold for much less money. I mean, that's what Mr. Rubin was asking for in the first place, was 64 units with 15% affordable. And we rejected that at that time. We rejected it in 2005, we rejected it in 2009, and I still think that this is not the best place in the township for affordable units. It is better to have them where regular public transportation is much more available, although I think the dash line does go past this site, but that's rather limited.
Okay, and appreciate that, and just in answer to one of your points, I'll respectfully disagree and say I do understand the economics. I believe I do. I think he's 9 units over, so I think he's well into it okay, and as, although this may not always be so objective, I have testified in court in New York and New Jersey as a financial and economic expert. And I wasn't going to bring anything partisan politics into this, but since it was mentioned, I'll just toss out, on a national scene, it's a little ironic, the Republican guys asking for more affordable housing.
Running for office, Mr. Mayor.
No, you know what? It's, to me, it's just the right thing to do. That's what we've always fought here. Okay, so that's, anything else on this?
No.
Okay.
No, I'll just make a comment, Mr. Mayor. As a businessman, I want to cut my losses and cap this whole thing, and that's my rationale for the way I think about it. And that's our fiduciary responsibility here, and that's where I'm coming from.
Sure, and just for the record, I respect that totally, these things. So, Ms. McCarthy, unless anything, please poll the council on the amendment, and then we'll go to the vote on the actual resolution.
Councilman Chase?
No.
Councilwoman Francois?
No.
Councilman Kramer?
No.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
No.
Councilman Regan?
No.
Councilman Vasanella?
No.
Councilman Wright?
No.
Okay, so the amendment doesn't pass, so we now go back to the original resolution. Was that moved?
No.
Okay, thank you. So is there a motion for Resolution 13-311, which was 16P on our consent agenda, authorized settlement agreement, Kings Row?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion? So, Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on Resolution 13-311, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
No.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Now we have one resolution vote on separately, usually item 7, no, I'm sorry, there's 2. These are usually 17 vote on separately if they're inserted after the consent agenda is published, put out in essence. So I've got 2 items, and if we can all do it together. Resolution 13-318, Resolution 13-319. The first is insertion in our calendar year 2013 municipal budget, the 2013 Summer Food Service Program, $6,879.36. And we do this annually. Mr. Bornlocker, this is not an increase to anything, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And B, Resolution 13-319, approve reappointments of a registrar and deputy registrar, and that's, we have to do that periodically, is that correct? There.
Every 3 years.
Yes, every 3 years.
Okay, thank you. So, we could do these together unless someone wants to do them separately. Is there a motion for both? We can start there.
So moved.
Second,
Moved and second.
to do them together.
To do together, yeah.
I thought Anne Marie didn't want to be the clerk anymore.
No, this is registrar.
Register.
We're taking an extra vote to save us one vote? Okay.
No,
I'm just checking.
oh, no, it's a motion for both of them.
It's a motion to,
Not
yeah,
do both.
motion to adopt both.
Motion to
Okay.
adopt both. That's
All right.
really what
Yes.
you're doing. Okay, good. So-
Second, yeah.
All right. So Ms. McCarthy, unless further discussion, please pull the council on 17A and B, Resolution 13-318 and 319, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yeah.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we have item 18, old business, 2013 board and commission appointments. Are there any nominations?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
I think we both want to make the same motion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'd like to nominate Edward Potosnak III for the open position of alternate on the planning board. You have his citizen leadership form. I know him primarily in his role as executive director of New Jersey League of Conservation Voters, and I've observed him in action running a meeting of representatives from a lot of different environmental organizations, and I thought he did it extraordinarily well.
Second. Then, oh, we
Okay.
need one, I'm sorry.
Are there other nominations? Okay, Councilman
I have a
Kramer?
question. Mr. Brandon Rogers is requesting to be on Advisory Board of Health. I don't think we have opening.
No.
Okay.
If he'd applied 3 months ago, we could have appointed him as a student.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's an impressive young man, got his public health degree, Eagle Scout, Rutgers, grew up in town, but no openings, right?
We shall keep him in mind.
Okay, yeah, if it does, can you remind us, Ms. McCarthy? Okay, so the only is for
Well-
Councilman.
I don't know whether this is the right time. I think Councilman Prasad reminded us of the application of Mr. Syed Hassan, and I wondered if Mr. Hassan would be willing to be appointed as a citizen member to the Rent Leveling Board, which has a lot of vacancies, although it's probably pretty non-functional now.
They meet?
They don't even.
They don't even
They
meet.
don't meet.
Historic Preservation has an
It's not-
opening, so we could put him there. He's open to any position. So, Historic Preservation,
Do we have an opening?
because
we have
the
a
Rent Leveling Board hardly ever meets.
Yeah.
Do you want to make the inquiry of
Uh,
him, of the openings, and come back with something next time?
No, I would recommend him for the Historic Preservation.
Okay.
That's a separate, first we're voting on,
We could do them both unless. you don't-
oh, okay, then I'd like to nominate him for the Historic Preservation.
Okay. So we've got Mr. Potosnik as Planning Board alternate,
Right.
and Mr. Hassan for Historic Preservation.
Right.
Okay, so if, A, does anyone want to split this vote, or B, are there other nominations?
Move.
If not, then we'll do there's no objection, do it by acclamation. All in favor of Mr. Potosnik and Mr. Hassan for the positions so mentioned, please say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Congratulations, both of you. We appreciate your helping and serving for us. We have no executive session, right?
Yeah, we do.
I noticed that there was an add-on for an executive session,
Oh,
not one
wrong
that,
one.
not one that I asked for. Bob, did you ask for an executive session?
Authorize-
I did, it was
contract-
at the request of Councilman Regan.
Okay,
You and I spoke about this.
Oh, that's what I thought.
That's the only issue in the executive
Contract-
session, yes.
Contract.
Contract negotiations, and that, it was it.
Yes.
okay. So, all right, so we have Resolution 13-320, that's item 19 on the agenda for executive session. Executive sessions where the council meets in private. There's only certain times the council can do that, such as attorney-client privilege, contract negotiations, personnel matters. This is contract negotiations.
Yes.
So is there a motion to go into executive session as listed on the resolution?
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please pull the council on the resolution for executive session, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer? Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. We're now going to go into executive session. When we come out of executive session, there will only be two matters of business. One, we will vote to come out of executive session, and number two, we will vote to and then adjourn. When matters of the executive session no longer need to be remain private, those minutes will be public. So because that's the only thing we're going to do when we come out of executive session, we're going to stop our taping now. So, thank you very much. Good evening. Good 4th of July.